everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. And here we find ourselves at the Panama Canal. Betty, these are what they call the mules, right?
That's
little
right.
Cars that are going to that take the ship through.
That's right. Who's the composer? No, not composer. Who's the singer that did the mule train? Frank, was that, remember?
Frankie Lane.
Was it Frankie Lane?
Oh, wait, we got to, now we're getting into nostalgia time, huh?
Well, I was thinking mule train, because it is a train. They call it the mule, and
Very good, very good. I give you that one. Okay, well, we're going through the Gatlin Locks, which means now we're going to go into the Gatlin Lake, and this, of course, is a man-made lake. And the thing is, I think, which is so important here, is that the mules, I guess that's what we want to call them, as we mentioned in the last program, depending on how large the ship is, it depends on how many of the mules or how many of the electric cars are actually going to go and pull the ship through, right?
Yeah, I kind of think, Marv, they work in reverse. You see, as one pulls up, the other comes down, so they balance each other, and it works.
Well, you've got ships going
Same.
in two different directions.
Yeah.
Now here we're going to go from the east to the west in this part of the lock, and then on the other part, they'll be going from the west to the east.
But as one moves in one direction, the other in the other direction, they sort of complement each other, or assist each other.
Well, I think it depends.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so, because I think...
Sounds good.
Didn't want to disagree with you on the air.
No,
However,
but you watch it.
Well, yeah, but it depends on the... I mean, they're pulling the ships through is what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I think I really think they were totally independently of one another.
You think they just turn around and come back again?
No. Yeah, that's what they do. In fact, I think we had some shots of that where then they rush back, to the other end of the
And
lock.
I thought as they come back the other way, they're pulling something at the other end.
No, because it's one-way direction each way. See what I mean? You're going to go either, like we're going from east to west, and then the other ships that would be going from west to east.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, let's change.
Boy, don't we sound intelligent?
Let's change the subject.
All right,
let's
change the subject.
Else.
Okay, we want to talk a little bit about
water,
because they had to look at it come down. This is where the captain and the pilot were standing in that little place, and that thing got so heavily laden with water that the crew members had to keep doing this. I mean, they had to keep. But this was interesting though, because there had been a huge drought in this area at just before we had gotten there, and now fortunately the rains came, and in Central America you never know how it's going to be. Here you can see on that electric car, that's the cable that hooks to the electric car that hooks right onto the ship that we're on, and so that's what's going to pull us right through. So and the water's coming. Look at this. I mean, it was really torrential. But what was so great about it is it rained like this so heavily on the east side, but yet when we got onto the Pacific side, on the other side, we had sunshine, and it had cleared up, so it was beautiful.
Yeah, and there's never a problem with this. It was warm, and if you felt like you didn't want to be out there, then you go on inside. There's windows every place.
And that's what I'm shooting through right now, because I did want to go inside.
Because, you have to be careful, not for you, but for the camera,
I beg your pardon.
I mean, you're not, the camera's expensive.
And I'm expendable.
Yes.
Okay, all right,
yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you can see that they're in the lake here. You can see that there are a lot of ships that are going either one direction or the other. But Betty, you got a little information about this, don't you?
I'm just kind of devastated because of the year 2000, when we will not be in charge. We are not completely turned. Well, yeah, we really are, but we are still going to be on the commission for it. But it is such an important area. Marv, I've been there several times, but I didn't realize, really realize how valuable the Panama Canal is, the miles that it saves. Do you know that it saves over 3,000 miles just for bringing coal, for example, from the East Coast to Japan? Saves 3,000 miles.
You mean it saves that?
It cuts it off.
Canal, so you don't go clear around the tip then of South America.
That's right, and it's not only safer, but look at the money that it saves, the time that it saves. And so I think that's where the biggest volume of business comes, is between the east coast of the United States and the Far East. but the rest do okay too. So it's really important to us, and the maintenance is wonderful. You know, they have a valuable asset here, and by golly, they know how to take care of it
they
too.
spend millions, don't they? I mean,
450 million a year.
Wow.
And 100 million of that is committed just to maintaining and improving the waterway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have to continually dredge it
Oh,
because,
sure,
you know, the
sure,
silt
right.
forms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the commission that they formed, which seems like it's working really, really well, they've recognized and emphasized the requirement of good maintenance, regular overhauls of the gates, chambers, and so they are really taking wonderful care of this. Thanks be to God.
Well, you know, the other thing too, like you mentioned, that they are doing a lot of improvements there, as we'll see a little bit later on in today's program, where we can see the actual dredging. But they want to preserve the status as you mentioned, the alternative choice for a large share of the world trade, and the Panama Canal. It must be the rain. Commission is continuing to make major improvements to the waterway. New, more powerful tugboats and those locomotives that we saw have been acquired to accommodate increased traffic, and also the larger ships. And then as we go along, we can see the high mast lighting is now in place to brilliantly illuminate all the lock areas and their approaches. And of course, this results in safer night transit of the larger vessels. And they also have a vessel mooring station, has increased the effective utilization of the Pacific area locks, and a deepened channel assures a maximum navigable draft for these bigger ships. And that's an important thing. So sometimes you think, well, it seems to be wide enough, maybe wide enough, but it may not be deep enough for some of these ships to go through. And, you know, especially now with the cruise lines, too, they're building these mega ships,
yes.
you know. But not only the cruise lines, also the freighters that go through there, too. We saw some huge freighters. I mean, some of those things were, they look like the Empire State Building.
Well, I presume, Marv, if they're well, this is such a smart remark for me to make, honestly. I was going to say, well, I presume if they're too big, they won't be able to use the canal. They'll have to take the other route around.
Well, that's true.
But my gosh, anybody with half a brain could figure that out.
Well.
And so that's me.
Oh, I'm not going to touch that one at all. Anyway, as we're going through here, we're on the in the lake area, but you can see now what the growth is here on the banks, and we're going to get to a place here where we'll see where some of the Panamanians are living here by the shore, and of course this is a man-made lake, the Gatlin Lake, and this was very interesting because once you get in through here, the ship is going at a certain pace here, and it's leisurely to watch. And I don't know about you, but of course you've been there many times, Betty. But I would go from one side of the ship to the other side of the ship just to
take
see
pictures.
Yeah, take pictures, and it was just wonderful. And of course we can see on this side over here, which would be the south side, there is a road that goes through there. There's also a railroad
How do you know
track.
that's the south side? How
Because
can you tell?
because we are going in a westerly direction, so that would have to be the south side. That would be the left-hand side, right? I mean, what we're seeing right now.
Oh, I would understand the left-hand side. I mean, I really understand going forward, and you look over there. That's the left side.
Right.
But how now?
Well, now
because
wait
of
a
the
minute.
weather and stuff. How do you know that that's the south side?
Because if you got off there and walked.
Well, I'm
on
not.
that
I
side,
mean,
you're-
just
you're
by
not gonna-
looking, just looking. How can you tell that's the south side?
Because that's the direction that we're going, that the ship is going.
South?
No. Well, and actually, you brought up a good point, because that canal does not run totally east and west, but that's still the south side.
Well, you certainly didn't answer my question. So,
Well, I don't know how to answer that.
Nevertheless, it's on the left-hand side of the ship.
And that would be the south side of the lake.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
If you say so.
Okay, all right. Now you see the rain has let up a little bit here, and which it did several times, and then of course we got a little bit more of it again. But I thought this was interesting, and I'm glad that it did do that, Betty, that it did rain like that, because it gave us a chance to cool off a little bit. It can be kind of warm in these waters.
Well, it added some excitement. Look at the tourists. Now, these are people that have come out. We don't quite know exactly where they came from, but obviously they're
Or where
tourists,
they're going.
with their yellow slickers, and but they're heading for someplace.
Yep, they could have been tourists that perhaps
They
drove
didn't
down
have
in
to
that area.
evacuate a ship.
No, I don't think so. No, there wasn't that much water.
No,
so.
no.
But no, this is.
But it looked like they were all having a good time. But we actually enjoyed, like you say, having the rain. It was kind of exciting the way it came down so hard, and we knew it wasn't permanent. Now, Marv, take a look at this little shack. Now, we stayed in a little place like that in Costa Rica when we did our Costa Rica
when
tour.
we lived out there in the jungles.
Yeah.
Now, if you look real carefully under the thatch roof there, you can see there's a couple of hammocks there, and of course the people are there, keeping themselves dry, and that's the hammocks, of course, are for sleeping and for relaxing, and there was a family that was right there, and you see they're right there at the edge, and if there's any more of that erosion there, then their little place would be gone here.
But Marv, that looks it doesn't really look like habitation. It looks more like a place that you would come maybe for
to get out of the rain,
or to rest a little bit. But I don't think they actually live there year round.
I think that they do. And
here we go again.
Well, I've been back in the, I've been very privileged to go back in the jungles and
1,000 years ago.
Well, yeah, but still, the people are going to live. People do live the way that they did 1,000 years ago in many areas.
Well, I'm teasing you, of
but
course.
But I have been like way back in the jungles in the Yucatan like that, and have stayed there for many weeks. So yeah, this is.
You think that's a home
place where people are living, and I presume, which is the wrong thing to do, but I presume that these people probably maybe make their living by fishing there in the lake,
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful area, isn't it? Isn't it just
Yep.
gorgeous? You get a chance, and this is what I like. I mean, here you are on a luxury liner, and you're probably sitting inside having a nice cup of coffee, and the rain's coming down out there, and you can take a look at this beautiful, beautiful forest or jungle area, whatever you want to call it, and just sit there and just soak this all in.
I think it's
and be dry.
I think it's surprising to a lot of people to know that there is that kind of greenery surrounding you when you do the Panama Canal, because people have the idea that it's going to be stark. It's
that you
flat
mean
and with not
not
too
at
much
all.
around.
Yeah.
But
actually, because when we go through, the cut, when we get through the Narrows down here, actually goes through the Continental Divide, because that Continental Divide runs that full length there. But now and the other thing that's so interesting to see are these tankers and the other ships that are there, and you can see how big these things are. That are that you just go right beside these things, and there's so much of this. Just it's very exciting to sit there and watch.
They have to line up, and there is a method of progress. If you have like a number, and you have to wait your turn to go through, because there are so many that do line up, and it takes quite a long time to go through the locks.
Well, they have installed new state-of-the-art computers for their Marine Traffic Control Center, and it even surpasses the high standards that they had with the previous equipment. And all the buoys that you see there in the water, that's BUOYS, have been converted to conform to all the international standards.
There's Jackie and Margot having a wonderful time. That rain's not bothering them, is it?
Nope. They're in a protected area there, so it's just great. And here's somebody. I don't know if this guy's going to work or just what, but he's
all alone.
He's out there in the lake. Let's listen now to our guide explain a little bit more about this area.
Because we can accommodate more ships. In fact, we can even pick up a 20% of the traffic by improving the Panama Canal. Now, when we enters this section, in fact, I did mention the fact that the cut widening the dry part of it begun in 1992. And it has been awarded to many contractors. But the wet part of the excavation has been carried out by the canal organization itself. And we have our dredging equipment, and we're doing the wet part of the excavation, which began in 1994. The entire cut widening should be ready by the year 2002, and a total investment over $200 million. So we are widening the cut, we're cutting down hills, and we are eliminating curves so we can make the canal a lot more safer and more efficient as larger ships are taking the canal route to go from sea to sea. Well, it is also important to know, as we enter the cut, you're going to see the scars of the numerous landslides that we have had here from the first day and up until the present time. Now, we have had over 26 major landslides. That's because of the pressure of the banks towards the center of the waterway is what actually causes so many landslides. Now, the Panama Canal in 83 years of operation, 83 years of excellent operation, serving all maritime nations. The Panama Canal has never been shut down because of lack of water. In fact, we've been blessed with a lot of water. But the Panama Canal has been shut down 3 times in 83 years. The first time the canal was closed, 1915, 1 year after its inauguration. In fact, at that time, there weren't much ships anyhow. Closed for 7 long months. 45 million cubic yards of rock slide right down into this canal, closing down the waterway for 7 months. The second time the canal was closed, 1968, we had a large Japanese bulk carrier. The Chosumaru was on her way out of the U.S. with a cargo of coal to Japanese port. And just as she enters this section right here, she had an accident, blocking the entrance to the cut for about 16 hours. And the following 24 hours, we put through 6 to 9 vessels in 1 day. The third and last time the canal was closed, December of 1989, for 37 hours, for security reasons, during the U.S. military action in Panama. But as we are now entering the cut, you're going to see along the banks, because of the volcanic rock formation, during the canal construction days, the deeper they dug, the wider they had to dig. It is also important to know that this 8-mile cut that slashes right through the continental divide was one massive piece of rock before the canal was built. This entire section has all been dug out, and all the rock taken out of this section was utilized to build, like for instance, the breakwater you saw when you came from sea this morning, the causeway that you're about to see on our way out to the Pacific anchorage, was also utilized to fill part of the city of Panama, the city of Colon, the public market in Panama, and some of the U.S. Defense sites, some of the bases. Like for instance, Outlook Air Force Base is almost 75 to 85% earth fill. So we are now entering the cut. You can see the lights along the banks. You can also see how the level of the water has gone down quite a bit. And in the next couple more minutes, couple more seconds I should say, we're going to be passing by the Farmer Canal Zone Penitentiary. This penitentiary has been transferred over to Panama based on the 1977 treaty, which went into effect in 1979. In fact, we do arrive at the Pedro Miguel locks around 4 o'clock. We should be there around 1 hour time at Pedro Miguel locks, where we're going to be lowered in a single-step operation, 31 feet into the 1 mile metaphorist lake level. Today, billions upon billions of dollars has been invested in this canal waterway improvement program. So we are still in this narrow section We're going to remain in this narrow section until we enters the Pedro Miguel lots.
Penitentiary. Well, Betty, I think we're passing right now what he mentioned just a moment ago, the prison that was turned over to the canals, or to the Panamanians, I guess, here. Do you suppose they're using that, or do you suppose that's nobody's home?
I really don't know, but they could use it for more utilitarian purposes now, because if they're doing all that work, they could be dorms and things for their workers.
Possible.
Oh, you know they're going to put it to some use.
Oh yeah, I don't think that anything there is really going to go to waste. Anyway, we, as he had stated, we are entering this narrow area, and it's about, from what I understand, about 8 miles long. Now, there's also cleaning up after lunch here, and so you can see a lot of people were, on the ship. You can have lunch either in the dining room or out here outside, which a lot of people decided to do.
Yeah, it's always fun. I always like it out here in the outside. By the way, that ice sculpture, we didn't talk about that, but they do marvelous things on Holland America. Yeah, they really do so many really artistic things that kind of add so much to the ambiance of the trip itself.
It certainly does. Well, you can see now it is a narrow section here, and you can also see that we are going in that particular direction. And the dredging equipment is right here.
It's incredible. Marv, I'm delighted that we have this now on tape, because we are going back again April the 3rd of next year, 1999, and we'll be able to check and see the progress that they've made. And who knows? Oh, no, it couldn't possibly be finished in a year.
No, he said, I thought he said the year 2002.
2000. Oh, well, to finish this one project here, huh?
Yeah, to finish widening the canal here in the Narrows, yeah.
But you can see the progress that we will be able to see the progress that's been made.
Oh, no, that's true. You will be. And I agree with you, but I think that's really great that we're able to, to see this at this particular time, because, in a few years, well, like in 2002, all of this will be done, and so you won't see any more of the canal construction.
Oh, well, they'll find something else to do.
Well, of course, they maintain it all the time. That's very true too. But I mean, to be able to see the stuff that they're doing right here, I think this is really great. It's magnificent. So I'm glad we went at the time we did. And of course, we do want to invite you to come with us next April. What's the date on that, Betty?
April the 3rd.
April the 3rd.
And Holland America.
Right. You have a lot of people already booked on that.
Yes, because I guess the word is out about the year 2000 going to, handing it back. And, I have a lot of people already going. So the cabin selection is going fast, if you have a preference as to where you want to be. However, I have been promised so many cabins, and they have to fulfill that particular promise, but it doesn't really mean whether you'll be center of the ship or not. So if you are thinking, I think that this might be a good time to go, then let me know so we can check out the cabin space and see what's available. We do have 45% discount off the brochure price. Fabulous.
That is fabulous. So if you are thinking about going to the Panama Canal and you'd like to come along, go with us, and we're going on that beautiful ship. Probably one of my favorite ships.
You like that?
Yes, I really
well, I like it because it's not big,
But it's
it's more
wonderful.
It's more cozy. I can still manage to get lost, I can say, I get lost all the time anyway. But I make the wrong turn, and then I'm on the wrong side of the ship, and I wonder, now why can't I find my cabin? And well, because it's on the south side.
It's on the south side, the port or the starboard side.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that. So you want to get some landmarks within the ship so that you know where you're going.
That's right. You mark your route.
Well, here's part of the dredging crew that we can see, and you're talking about ships. That's a pretty big vessel in itself, isn't it?
Well, they live there. Wow. They're living on that. Wow. That's where they eat and breathe and sleep and what work. Right. And then of course they got the water right there to bathe. I don't think they do that, though. I'm sure they have showers.
But you can see here where they keep digging back and widening this area, and then I guess that kind of serpentine thing that you're looking at there is probably hauling some of the mud and stuff away. But I couldn't figure out what this guy was doing. He was pushing dirt into the canal, instead of taking it out. So there must be some sort of reason for this. I
But
don't
yeah,
know.
but I watched that, and then later on you see the dredge that takes the dirt out of the water and puts it back up on another place on the land. So I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. But I'm sure.
Where's the boss, huh?
Yep, but I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah, and you, as you stated before, the amount of money that is spent just in the upkeep, the regular upkeep. Now we're looking at expansion over here, but the upkeep of this canal, and it goes on 24 hours a day.
And they have raised the rates for all the ships going through the canal now.
They have.
You know, it costs a heck of a lot of money.
Well, he was telling us, I think, on one of the other shows that there a ship, and we were on not a real large ship.
No,
I mean, the Northern was not
1,200,
really
I
large.
think.
It was something like around $45,000, something like that. And
I think it's gone up since then, Marv.
and then on these big ships, those
Uh-huh.
container ships, you know, it's even more expensive, for what I understand. On
So
that.
it's pretty self-sufficient.
Over in the starboard side of the ship, the PVC plastic stakes, the discharge are placed into these stakes, and later on they're blown up, and we can move the dredges into operation to remove the spoil out of this area. Well, we're getting closer up to the Continental Divide. You can see Gold Hill is coming up on our port side, and right across we have the Contractors Hill. Now remember that during the French involvement trying to build a canal in Panama, they had financial problems and made an announcement at that time that this hill that we have coming up on our port side had sufficient gold to cover the entire costs of the French canal effort. But up to the present time, we have noticed that Gold Hill yield no gold. Right across is Contractors Hill, originally over 400 feet above the two oceans. But in 1939, a crack was discovered in the upper part of the hill that forced the canal engineering division to take all the necessary steps to avoid a landslide or an accident with a ship passing by.
Well, just a reminder that if you'd like to go with us on our next adventure to the Panama Canal, we'd like you to give Betty a call at
488-7443.
That's about all the time that we have now. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.